Hey there, YouTube, it's your boy, Future President Jack, on your screen here to give you some major updates on the status of my presidential campaign, which is going amazingly so far. So, I'm not going to waste time reiterating what I've already covered in my previous presidential address, as everybody already understands that we're getting rid of Florida, we're building the dome, we're requiring a license to raise children, we're converting all churches into cat sanctuaries, and all those sorts of things. So we're going to move on to more pressing topics right now, such as fixing healthcare, fixing the prison system, fixing the war on drugs, unocculting the entire occult, which includes the entire secret history of the human race, and what the moon and Saturn and aliens actually are, how the god that almost all believers worship is secretly Satan, how the false idols that non-spiritual folks worship are also secretly materialism and Satan, and how to get our whole species back on the path of moral and spiritual growth so that we can stop fucking destroying ourselves with greed and ignorance. Amen, let's get started. But before I get into all that, I just want to point out how well my campaign has been going so far. As I've mentioned, you don't actually get a choice, it's all fake and I automatically win as representative of Lucifer and the Illuminati, obviously. But in spite of that, our reality TV show to keep you entertained is going amazingly. All of the fake Democratic debates recently are full of hilarious baits, and all the candidates are a joke, but it's fine because we're all Democrats here, and at least none of the Democratic candidates are racists who inspire white nationalists to murder Mexicans like our pathetic evil president is. So as far as us morally and intellectually superior Democrats are concerned, there isn't a damn thing that the dishonest media could say to convince us to vote for any retardlican over any Democrat. I mean, Trump is just the worst, and everything he's ever done is the worst thing that's ever happened to the world, and he's irredeemable, so none of us good-hearted and loving Democrats would ever even dream of trying to understand what that sick, pathetic piece of shit is doing to our beloved nation that we don't actually even like that much. So as you can see, the Democrats are quite thoroughly and amusingly enslaved. Your inconsequential excuses for minds are mere putty for us to play with. And on the Republican side of things, I mean, they're all just a bunch of crazy, ridiculous conspiracy theorists these days. Oh, Q is rooting out the deep state, the chemtrails are clearing up, reptilians are eating our children, they're draining cerebrospinal fluid out of hospital patients when they're unconscious and selling it to Marina Abramovich and other vampires. They're inducing diseases into ghettos to curb the population, they're poisoning us with GMOs and all that ridiculous nonsense. Like, why would we actually poison our slave population? We need you guys to be good and healthy so that you can be good, hard workers and pay lots of rent and interest on your home loans to our bloodlines so that we can all drive around in fancy cars that we don't have to earn and that you will never be able to afford, and also we can make movies and commercials that turn your children into sexual perverts so that we can normalize pedophilia and bind everybody to the root chakras. Also, we do want to curb your population because you're easier to control and happier when there's less of you and your lives don't matter anyways. Hardly any of you are capable of original thought in the first place since you're just fragmented clone souls. Point is, the Republicans are totally under control as well. Even sleepy sheep know more than they do about what they think is happening in the world. Therefore, when I slip into the Oval Office in between each of your fake parties, none of you are going to even notice a thing. That being said, I'm not actually with the Illuminati. I'm on your side, and I'm just a double agent who has finagled my way into the Council of 13. I'm going to betray all of the Luciferian Brotherhoods, and I was just saying the entire first part of this for optics to convince them that I'm one of them, and because everybody finds Illuminati jokes hilarious, and nobody has an instinctual, guttural, reactionary hatred programmed into them when confronted with Illuminati jokes due to MK Ultra programming, which makes them spite the idea of evil overlords using all of you as slaves and tools instead of thinking about it as funny. Anyways, let's get on to my policies. So, healthcare reform, first and foremost. Insurance is obviously a middlemaning scam. We're going to get rid of insurance completely. What we're going to do is we're going to let you all decide who lives and dies based on whether or not they can crowdfund their medical costs. Since we're lowering taxes dramatically, you'll all have a bit more spending money, and we're going to encourage you to use medical crowdfunding websites to use that money to decide who you think is worthy of life and who is too expensive to keep around. We will encourage doctors to barter with you guys if you can't raise enough money for the full price of exams and surgeries, but we all know that doctors are greedy, arrogant, solipsistic assholes who are incapable of assimilating new information and simply regurgitate what they've been taught, and who are in it entirely for the money and not your well-being. So they aren't going to lower their prices, even if it means your life. So you'd better hope to crowdfund the full price of all of your surgeries, which shouldn't be too hard to do, since you won't all be wasting psychotically more than you would spend on medical bills in the first place on the scam of insurance. So that should be pretty easily fixable. You should all be able to crowdfund enough to save the people who have truly debilitating injuries and illnesses and who are likable and presentable on social media. Real talk though, we should actually crowdfund medicine more frequently. That should be a normal thing that we do. As an aside, I'm sure that you've noticed that I'm not wearing the traditional red cloak in which I became famous and beloved amongst mankind. And I'm sure that this makes you terribly sad and that you miss it, but my advisors have notified me that red is a partisan color, and that people will also affiliate me with the blood of the many enemies that I will certainly be spilling once I am in office if I wear the color red. Therefore, we have moved on to the more regal and presidential purple, since it represents the unification of red and blue. It represents royalty, it represents poison, like the poison of the snakes whose heads I will be severing once I am in office, things like that. We hope that you can understand this aesthetic change and continue to support me in spite of it. Next major thing on the agenda is I'm going to be fixing the prison system. This one is really easy. We're going to start by decriminalizing all nonviolent and drug-related crimes. It's literally only a crime if your crime harms the well-being of another person from here on out. But we're going to be incurring greater penalties on certain kinds of violent crimes. For instance, rapists get their dicks cut off. That's just how it's going to be. And all CEOs who make more than 100 times what their least paid employee makes are going to get their hands cut off, because that's going to be considered thievery and a violent crime against others' well-being from now on. You have to balance your earnings based on that metric. Anyways, all drugs are legal now. You're allowed to do whatever you want with your own body, because it's literally insane for any outside entity to tell you what you can and can't do with yourself without implying that you're literally property. So all drugs are obviously legal. Just don't cause harm to others while you're on drugs. All drug offenders are out of jail, and everyone else who hasn't performed a violent crime is out of jail. And we're going to fill the jails with property moguls and banker bloodline demon worshippers and, Disney stars and other people I don't like. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Now, the only other promise I made was that I'm going to reveal all occult secrets. You guys get to know what your souls actually are, the causes of suffering and how to alleviate them, how you have essentially consented to being enslaved by demons in this realm, and why everybody is stuck in this samsaric reincarnation Saturn Moon Matrix grid, because almost none of you bothered to build a proper spiritual foundation from which to break free to the rest of the cosmos. Because half of you are too arrogant to think about spiritual things, and half of you worship one of the popular false religions, which all refer to Satan as Lord and are designed to lock you into bondage. And then there's the aware Satanists, some of whom are honest, but the lower echelons of whom think they are doing some edgy metaphorical thing about freedom while they actually don't believe in Satan or God, which is pretty funny, but obviously you guys are assholes too, and you're definitely going to be stuck reincarnating here for a long time if you don't get your shit together. And as far as the major serious Satanists, well, you are willfully choosing to be evil, so you have to be separated from society and able to protect the innocent, obviously, by whatever means necessary. So that's kind of a vague outline of why you're all stuck here and can't make it back to Eden. But I have good news. I am an emissary from Eden, and I and my kind can teach you all how to be good to one another and how to have empathy and how to regain a proper moral, spiritual foundation so that we can rebuild Eden here and persecute all of the pathetic evil spirits who have been enslaving and torturing you for so long. But we already both know that you aren't going to listen to anything that I'm saying, because I'm just a trickstery little joker, and who could take anything I'm saying seriously? And besides which, if you actually did take me seriously, I would definitely get assassinated. Because I'm rolling in here and I'm telling you all about a totally different notion of God, such as that God isn't omnipotent nor omniscient. I can ask questions and tasks that it can't know or do. And as soon as people... lose my place on my piece of paper here. And as soon as people start hearing that and start hearing that you're mostly worshiping false iterations of God which anchor you in complacency rather than constantly striving for improvement, history tends to suggest that people will get mad and kill me. Now don't get me wrong, all of you have knowledge of God and what it means to be good and loving and empathic and co-creative, but it's primarily intrinsically built within you. Well, all religious teachings here are designed to lead you astray because they're literally controlled by legions of demonic beings who wipe your memory every incarnation and then keep you from all true spiritual knowledge so you're easier to enslave. Nonetheless, you can maintain the strength of what you know to be pure and divine within yourself, and you won't need anything else to validate that foundation once you have found it within your core essence. It is built within you. Anyways, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg as far as my presidential promise to reveal all occult teachings publicly. Also, the whole aliens and UFOs thing is mostly interdimensional spirit beings, which are either angelic or satanic, and that's a big part of why it's really awkward to fully disclose what's going down, because there are still seriously vicious efforts to keep you mortals as ignorant slave puppets, because that's just what makes sense if you're evil and you want slaves to do all the hard work of building empires for you to rule them from. Anyways, vote for me, your boy Jack, President of America, which will be renamed New America, which will be the headquarters of the New World Order, which already started like 100 years ago, but we finally gotten to the point where we can go public, and there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing you can do to stop me from becoming president. It is too late for you to have any choice in the matter. You have already let this happen. But please continue to enjoy the spectacle of our fake reality TV show presidential debates while you wait patiently for me to rule over you. Anyways, may peace and bloodshed find their ways to the homes of those who respectively deserve them. Amen.